Great day, everyone. This is Jason Santos, and for today, we will continue the discussion of BPO. We already on the last part of the first chapter, where we will define outsourcing, its rationale, what are the functions, the advantages and disadvantages. So let's get started. By the end of the module, you are expected to define and explain what is outsourcing, identify the reasons why companies outsource, identify functions, services that are being outsourced, and then enumerate the advantages and disadvantages of outsourcing. So here we just have a series of images labeled as Breakfast of Champions. Well, for some feedback can be the Breakfast of Champions. Here we take this at the literal um, state, okay, literal breakfast. And what it just tries to imply is that all of these things are coming from the cow. Okay, all of these products are coming from cow or byproducts of cow. Now, every time we buy something from somebody rather than producing it ourselves, we have essentially outsourced the production of that good and service. So since if you are have studied economics, we know that we cannot produce everything ourselves. Thus, we have the concept of trading. Okay, and in essence, in the modern day, we cannot produce everything on our own as well. That is why we outsource. Okay, and we outsource the production of that good and service because again, we don't have the expertise, the capacity, the skills, resources to perform that specific task. So we pay someone to do it for us, and then it's a win-win solution for everyone. We get the final product, and then they get to earn from doing such. Okay? Contracting of a service provider for the delivery of a process or a service. And that's also another way of calling it. You contract somebody's services, like you hire someone to perform that service. Okay. So to answer why do companies outsource, there are a lot of reasons as to why. Basically for capacity management, to lower the costs, to improve or better the performance, for faster and continuous service delivery, and some for part-based activities. Just to give you an example, Amazon is one of the biggest retailers in the world. Okay, actually the biggest. And next would be the Alibaba group of companies. So Amazon's Texas warehouse is equivalent to 117,000 square foot, or that's also almost equivalent to a kilometer's worth of a warehouse. So just imagine, okay, you have a really huge warehouse where walking uh walking inside that warehouse wouldn't be practical. That's why if you would research some warehouses of or majority of the warehouses by Amazon are operated on by robots. Okay, so there are actually roving robots collecting um, the packages, sorting them, getting them from higher places in shelves, putting it back there. And then the role of people there is just to aid and supplement, okay, the entire um process of sorting, warehousing, so on and so forth. And since Amazon cannot afford to produce more and more of these warehouses, what they do is they also outsource their services to other countries like China. um you have actually practically every place in the world can act as a warehouse for Amazon. You just need to sign up with them as an affiliate and a drop shipping partner, so that they would be able to save space and they wouldn't, incur the cost of producing larger warehouse. So that's an example of where outsourcing can be very beneficial. Okay, so another example is China being the number one smartphone manufacturer in the world. Okay, you can give me all the um, popular smartphone brands like Apple, you have Samsung, all of them are being manufactured in China. Okay, a huge chunk of them are being manufactured in China. It's because the costs in manufacturing there is really cheap as compared to doing it in the US. Okay, so and that is also the reason why a lot of new Chinese smartphones have really gone up in quality. It's because they were able to adopt the secrets and the technology of Samsung and Apple. If you would look at Redmi, Xiaomi, and other Chinese phones, Huawei, you can see the quality is already there, and those are Chinese brands. And they were able to accomplish that because the manufacturing has been shared with them by the larger companies. Okay, so they have produced 1.5 billion smartphones just in 2020. So imagine how many smartphones are that. Okay, it's like serving a fraction of the entire global population already. Okay, so why do companies outsource? Also, it's because of a capacity management. Okay, similar to the warehouse analogy I have mentioned earlier. um, Part of an outsourcing activity is checking the capacity of the business, whether we are able to accommodate it. Okay, need to acquire, buy, hire temporary capacity. So again, why do companies outsource? Part of that function is for capacity management. And when we say capacity, companies project that there will be times in a year where uh, the demand is high. Okay, like for example, here in the Philippines before the pandemic, we all know that the fourth quarter is the time of the year where people are really flocking groceries, shopping malls, or buying practically anything. And that's because that is when most Filipinos get their bonuses from their work. Okay. And similar to that is in other countries, like in the US, there is this 1-800 flowers account. This is a call center account wherein the company hires people from the Philippines, and that form of job is just seasonal. Okay, we call it as a seasonal account, meaning you will only work on periods of the year wherein the demand for flowers is high. Like for example, during Mother's Day or Father's Day celebration, or during Christmas where people send you flowers, or during Valentine's Day. Okay, so if you are that type of worker, that means that your job is at a part-time or contractual basis only. Okay, so that's an example of taking advantage of a capacity management. So 1-800 flowers in the US won't be able to accommodate the huge demand. So by that time, they would need to have a lot more people staffed, okay, to accept orders, to track orders, or maybe facilitate returns. Okay, so demand chasing, one day there will be 50 employees needed, and then some other time there will just be 10 needed. So that's the reality of it. Okay, you manage the capacity of a certain business. Also would be to lower costs. So of course, we all know that there are some countries wherein the taxation is low. Like for example, Guernsey is a channel island in the English Channel near the French coast. They have 0% corporate tax, so it's a tax haven for businesses. Barbados is an Eastern Caribbean island and an independent British Commonwealth nation. So their tax is just 5.5%. Okay, you have Hungary 9%. Gibraltar is a British company, British territory rather, in the Spain, and they only have 10% corporate tax. So see, um, companies also know this, that there will be countries wherein the taxes are low. So they are also considering outsourcing to that country if they have the skills and the necessary equipment, resources to accommodate, okay, the outsourcing activity. In replacement of that, of course, would be enjoying lower corporate tax. Another would be for better performance. So there are companies that are really specialized in providing platforms, okay, that can give you these platforms are actually being used in BPO. I for one have experienced using Salesforce. In one of the programs that I have been assigned on, we use Salesforce. And PeopleSoft is also another, although I have not experienced using that. But these programs, okay, act as a CRM, or customer relationship management tool. So all of the information of the customer, their purchasing records, everything are stored in there. That's why if you will be speaking with a customer, they would be able to locate your information or get your information. It's like similar to, let's say, you called a globe hotline or a smart hotline, and then they ask you to verify something. And once you have verified it, your information will be available in front of them, and then they would be able to serve you better because they have everything in front of them. Okay, so another would be for faster and continuous service. So many companies pledge that they operate at, let's say, 24/7. Okay, they operate around the clock. Um, they don't have downtime, so you can call them 24/7. So how do they accomplish that? They outsource. Okay, so let's say this company, this country only sees a few calls during nighttime. Okay, so rather than cutting the operations, they would just outsource. Okay, so the company is closed in the US after 5 p.m., and then 5 p.m. onwards, the operations is already outsourced somewhere, maybe in India or in the Philippines. So by that time, it's night shift in US and then morning in the Philippines. There would only be few people who are needed in the call center because the call volume is just low. Okay, so that's an example of faster and continuous service. Next is a part-based activities. So there are certain industries wherein the entire manufacturing of a certain goods or an item cannot be done in one place. Like for example, an aircraft. Some of its components are actually outsourced from India. Okay, India manufactures some parts of the aircraft, and then they transport it to any country that builds and operates the said airplanes. Okay, similar to cruise ships. Okay, the rooms are manufactured elsewhere, and then they are just transported to the country where it is needed for cruise activity. um in You can see on the right side that we have a distribution of semiconductor production. Okay, and you can see Taiwan is the biggest semiconductor manufacturer in the world right now, actually bigger than China. And then that semiconductor is being used for computers, for cell phones, and yeah, so the parts are being built in Taiwan, and then it's being transported to many parts of the globe. What are the things that are being outsourced? Okay, You can outsource auxiliary services, routine or activity services, and IT services. So let's look at them one by one. So when you say support or auxiliary services, these are other services inside a BPO. So of course, you can imagine a call center operating. It's not just purely the agents, right? There are actually other services like a cafeteria, a janitorial service, trucking and shipping, security, payroll, legal, so on and so forth. So just like a normal company. But since their expertise would be for call center operations, it would be much cheaper if they would just hire people, okay, outsource or get somebody who will perform all of these things: the cafeteria services, the janitorial services, payroll, and legal. Okay, so those are example of auxiliary services. You have routine activities that can be automated at larger centers. So just like small banks outsourcing their other services to ATMs. Okay, that's an example. So you can withdraw or change your pin at this ATM facility. Okay, actually some ATMs are able to take in cash, but those ATM machines are limited. Okay, small vendors using Amazon as the data center. So just like what I have mentioned earlier, anybody can be an affiliate of Amazon. Okay, so you just need to sign up with them. And then Amazon now acts as the central data center, marketing, and payment processing platform. But the distribution is done globally on foot by people. Okay? So banks using common multi-bank core banking services of large technology providers. And of course, IT services, this is very prevalent nowadays. Application development, maintenance, management, production of data centers, production technical system support, the help desk, okay, software as a SaaS or shared application software, and cloud services. So I have also worked in help desk in the past where we troubleshoot certain issues. Let's say a customer calls in with an issue on a phone or a computer. We provide the primary troubleshooting steps, okay, before we hand it over to a specialist who can further elaborate the issues with that certain gadget. Okay, so advantages of outsourcing in the employer's perspective is that the service provider, BPO company, determines most efficient number of resources. So, in the perspective of an employer, um, this is good because you would be able to determine how many people do you need to put, okay? Do you need to hire, okay? And that gives you a clear perspective, and you would really cut costs because you have the control of as to how many people do you need to employ. The service provider may have more expertise and capability than the buyer, like what we have said. You outsource or you hire someone to perform this for you. Like we hire somebody to perform the security services. Okay? In our company, we are not trained security personnel. We don't know anything about basic emergency response. We don't know how to use a gun. We don't know how to fight or provide any security services. Okay, that's why it would be best if we would just hire, okay, that service all together. Okay, or let's say an accounting service. Okay, your company is the company's expertise is IT. They do not know accounting. So what do? They hire someone to perform the accounting services for them. Okay, so that's an example of lower expertise versus higher expertise. And then the buyer can leverage economies of scale of the service provider. So economies of scale, it means that the larger the production is, the more cheaper it becomes for the consumer. Okay, so later on, I have an image here that would give you an idea what I mean by that. So service provider may have more expertise, like what I mentioned earlier. For technical support, you have Dell, Convergys. For accounting, you have, or although again Convergys is already acquired by Concentrix. Accounting, JP Morgan Chase and Company. You have Citi for Citigroup, Citibank, and then animation for Top Draw Animation. And then again, like what I've mentioned, economies of scale. The buyer can leverage economies of scale for the service provider. Okay. For example, if you have a large truck delivering the items to a store, you can sell it at $2 per unit. Or a large truck delivering all of the items together, the cost becomes $1.50 per unit. Okay, so let me put it in this perspective. Let's say you are buying something from Shopee. All right, I'm sure most of you are enjoying the 49 peso or 50 peso shipping. And that is already the cheapest shipping available right now from door to door. Okay, if you would ship in LBC, it's going to cost you 200 to 300. If you're going to ship through Lalamove or Grab, much higher, probably 400 or 500 for Metro Manila alone. So why is JNT Express and Shopee able to accomplish that? It's because of the economies of scale. Okay, they were able to bring down the price because they have the largest operations. Okay, so the shipment is being done by bulk, therefore it would save the trips. Okay, the trip from, let's say, Metro Manila to Bulacan is being saved. They're just going to use one truck to put all of the packages together versus having it done multiple times in a day. Okay, so that's economies of scale. Okay, another advantage would be working abroad and living here. You get to experience that because you work for people in America or in the Europe or whichever country that employs your services. Let's say you are working for an online English teaching tutorial center like 51 Talk. Okay, you can teach Koreans or Chinese how to speak English. Okay, you are working for abroad, but still you are living in the Philippines. You can experience professional growth. Okay, in the private sector, promotion is very easy. You just need to have good numbers and you can apply for promotion right away. Some companies don't even require a college degree. Okay, some companies just require for you to be a high school graduate. Okay, and you can be promoted as a manager. Okay, and I have experienced that. A lot of my colleagues back then in the BPO are not college graduates. Okay, but they get to enjoy professional growth. Okay, they get promoted, they enjoy huge salaries because the promotion in private is faster as compared to the government. Okay, financial independence, employee assistance, and then you can also enjoy your favorite food. So one of the disadvantage now is that the costs can be higher. Um, what does that mean? I thought we are actually saving if we are outsourcing. Yes, that's true, but it can be higher in some perspectives. Like, for example, you hired someone to provide clinic service, okay, and that is vaguely defined. You did not check what are the inclusions in clinic service. Does it include dental services? Does it include um, emergency services? Something like that. Okay, so it must be really defined so you know what exactly are you getting, because if it's vaguely defined and then the situations arise, they would ask you for a premium or an additional payment. Okay, because that's not part of the agreement. An example is redefining the task, making it more clearer. Like, for example, If I'm going to need a clinic service, I need two full-time nurses, one full-time doctor. The shift is 8 to 5 p.m., providing emergency medicine and emergency care equipment. Okay? So it needs to be clearly stipulated. And of course, the buyer does not have full control of resources doing the work. Example, can your agency provide office assistance? Also, do this errand like a personal errand? Of course, that might not be acceptable for some. So the solution to that is to not use the outsourced office assistant as if it he or she is your personal assistant. And then, of course, the major disadvantage of working in the BPO is the shifting schedule. So you don't have a permanent schedule. Your schedule will be rotational. And that's something that I reiterate to my employees back then when when I was working for a BPO company, or not employees, rather, correction on that, but agents under my supervision. So your shift can be rotated, you can be transferred from one shift to another, and then gives you the opportunity to pursue your passion and interest during the day. And then, of course, we all know that if you are in the customer service line in BPOs, you will be dealing with a lot of irate or angry customers. That's why trainings are very frequent. There are also support available. Companies provide facilities and activities to help you unwind. That's why many call centers offers gaming and relaxation room, okay, where people can play games like console games, PlayStation, Xbox, play billiards, sleeping quarters, because this is a really stressful work. Okay. Um so summary, these are the things that we have learned: definition, the rationale for outsourcing, the functions, and the advantages and disadvantages. So now let me end this lecture with this quiz. This is a summative quiz. So yes, I'm putting this in your Google Classroom. So you can answer this as your assignment. And that's it. I hope you have learned something from this discussion. Thank you so much and see you on the next video.